Sometime after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, Biosyn Valley had become a new home for the dinosaurs after the valley was bought by the United Nations. There are many species living in the valley, and as more and more were coming in, the UN had to worry about territorial disputes. To avoid this, the UN decided to make another wildlife sanctuary somewhere in the US for all the dinosaurs roaming around the country. They found a place in California just outside of Yosemite National Park, and they got to work. The UN sent a team over to build a response facility, a hatchery, and an arrival point. Once that was finished, they put up a fence and surrounded the premise to keep the dinosaurs at bay. When that was finished, it was time to fill the land with dinosaurs. The team started off with 11 species just to see how they would get on. First, they put in herbivores that they found throughout the US, and they did them one species at a time individually. The first species they brought in was Gallimimus, a small herbivore whose name means chicken mimic. The reason they were brought in first was due to the fact that they are small and easy to manage. Once they got comfortable in their new home, they were already interacting with one another as if they lived their whole life there. The people in charge of the observation were fascinated by the way these creatures behaved and saw them running around like a flock of birds. Feeling more confident, the UN gave the go-ahead to release another herbivore. This time, it was a larger herbivore called Parasaurolophus, a hadrosaur known for the crest on its head. Six of them were dropped off, and while they took a little more time to adjust, they were content with their new home. The next herbivore to be sent in was an armored herbivore called Ankylosaurus. Since these herbivores tend to keep to themselves, the UN decided to keep them away from the other herbivores that would come in later. The team dropped off 3 of them, and one of the specimens had a similar color scheme to a certain Camp Cretaceous ankylosaur. They even nicknamed the Ankylosaurus Bumper. The team did not know about Bumpy's existence. It was just a mere coincidence. That wouldn't be the only coincidence, but we'll get to that later. The rest of the herbivores to arrive would include Apatosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, and Pachycephalosaurus. Then the UN sent a team on a ranger vehicle to take pictures of the animals in their new home. The pictures came out great, and the UN approved of the direction this sanctuary was heading. Now it was time for the hard part, bringing in the carnivores. There were only 3 brought in, and the UN was worried that they might destroy the ecosystem. The first carnivore to be sent in was the Dilophosaurus, a small theropod from the early Jurassic period. Its name means double-crested lizard because of the double crest on top of its head, which is what this carnivore was known for. After putting in the Dilophosaurus, the team confirmed that they can coexist with the herbivores, seeing how a lot of them are much larger than themselves. The next carnivore to be dropped off was another small theropod called Velociraptor, a dromaeosaur from the late Cretaceous. It is known for its signature sickle-like claw, which was on the middle toe of each foot. These particular specimens came from Isla Sorna and are quite deadly, which means that it's probably best to admire them from a very safe distance. The raptors got along just fine as well. Maybe some territorial disputes with the Dilophosaurs, but apart from that, nothing serious. Last but not least, the one the United Nations was worried about the most, Tyrannosaurus Rex. There were 2 of them, and they had to be created in the hatchery due to the fact that there were no Rexes in the US. One of the specimens has a striking resemblance to the original T-Rex. The other has a light blue stripe on top of its head, and the team even gave it the nickname Bluebrow. After all 3 carnivores were dropped off, it was time to take pictures of them. Since the specimens were carnivores, the team had to be a little more careful. They managed to take some pretty good pictures, and the UN was very impressed. Though it wasn't a huge sanctuary, the United Nations is hoping that one day the sanctuary will be as big as Biosyn Valley. It is also unknown whether or not they want to one day open this sanctuary to the public for all to see.